last couple of years, I've talked about some of the worst Beyblade series of all time. Starting with Beywheelz, which turned Beyblades into tires. Then we had BeyWarriors Beyraiders, which turned those tires into cars. And then we wrapped up with the most forgotten spin-off of all time with BeyWarriors Cyborg. While these shows are not great at all, and they kind of go against the spirit of Beyblade in general, they're still part of Beyblade's history, so they're worth remembering. So in this video, we're going to go over everything from Beywheelz to BeyWarriors Cyborg, combining all three of the videos that I've made with some extra bits in there. So that way you can get the full story and the full history of Beyblade's most unfortunate series of all time. So let's start with chapter 1, which is Beywheelz. There has been multiple generations of Beyblade at this point. There was the original Beyblade series with Tyson and Kai. There was the Beyblade Metal Saga, which had Jinka and Ryuga. But what if I told you there was a spin-off Beyblade series that released towards the end of the Metal Saga that you probably have heard of, but you definitely forgot about? So in this video, we're going to be talking about the weirdly dangerous and forgotten history of Beywheelz. So let's just get right into it. We are talking about a lot of bad Beyblade series in this video, but a really good one is Beyblade X, which is currently releasing a bunch of new stuff. And if you want to pick some of them up, check out Mall of Toys. They have a lot of the Beyblade X stuff up for sale, like Dran Sword, Hell's Scythe, even Dran Dagger and Hell's Chain, which are the newest ones. And they also have a bunch of Beyblade Burst stuff as well, if you want to complete your Burst collection. But go and check them out, links in the description down below, or you can scan the QR code, and make sure to use code ilinnuc to get 5% off of your first purchase. But let's go back to the video. First up with what Beywheelz actually is. Beywheelz was a 13-episode TV series that was a spin-off to the original Metal Saga that released after Metal Fury. It was originally created partially because of the huge Beyblade boom that was going on at the time, but also because Metal Fury had a shortened season length of only 39 episodes, so this 13-episode run of Beywheelz completed a full 52-episode season, I guess. It is a spin-off in the way that it kind of takes place in the Beyblade universe. They say in the introduction that it was a split off from the main evolution line of Beyblade.
This is the story of another type of Beyblade that evolved independently within that process. This is the story of Beywheelz.
Well, it kind of evolved separately, but besides that, they don't really talk about any of the other main Beyblade characters like Jinka and Ryuga. The show also features brand new characters as well. Brand new in that they're pretty much just kind of wish versions of characters you've already gotten. The main character's name is Sho Tenma, and he uses a Pegasus, and he's pretty much just Jinka. You also had Jin Ryu, who uses a Drago Bey Wheel.
What the hell?
But these are not Beyblades, they are Beywheelz, okay? Beyblades are these really cool spin tops that uses metal or plastic or both that hit in the stadium. But Beywheelz is a rubber tire. Boom! Holy cow, it's amazing. It's so ingenious and creative. I don't know what it is with toy companies and wanting to just throw tires and cars into things. It kind of reminds me of Yu-Gi-Oh! 5Ds, where it was pretty much just Yu-Gi-Oh! Where they just rode on motorcycles. It doesn't make a lot of sense. Just why? Why? So what I'm gonna do is just go to Wikipedia and read you guys the plot. Cue drama music. The series follows Team Estrella, a group of young and talented Beywheelers residing at Dissection City. The peace of that place is threatened when a group of aggressive wheelers means bladers by the way, but it's wheels, so they changed up the name, calling themselves Dominators, attempts to take over the Beywheelz world. Unable to accept such a reign of terror, Team Estrella opposes the Dominators and ends up fighting them in the Judgment Bay tournament, which is to decide the fate of the world they live in. as well as the fate of an unknown, undiscovered one. So it's pretty much good guys versus bad guys, with the fate of the world in the balance. A very, very standard shonen anime plot, and it kind of has to be because it is only 13 episodes. But the quality of the show, including the animation and the voice acting, is definitely not up to snuff. The voice acting especially, I mean, it's...
The Dominators will crush them each one by one! The entire Beywheelz world will be ours!
It was just weird. The whole thing is odd. The whole thing is wacky, and if you want to watch it, the whole thing is on YouTube directly from the official Beyblade Metal Series channel. I'll link the first episode down below, and you guys can watch it from there and let me know what you think. So now let's move on to the actual Beywheelz themselves, okay? Beyblade Metal Saga was made up of a couple of different pieces that you put on a launcher and you rip it into a stadium. Beywheelz changed that up by making it a thick rubber tire that is smashed together. They absolutely mash, okay? An official Beyblade channel called Beyblade Battles actually did a product demo of this back when it released, and let's see how they intended you to play with them, okay?
And push the launcher to launch into a crash battle, a stunt battle, or a Beywheelz race battle.
So out of the 3 different ways you can play, one of them is they just crash together. The other one is they just fling up into the sky somewhere and pray it doesn't break a vase or something. And then another one is just a standard, just roll them and see which one passes the finish line first. See, it's not really similar to Beyblade at all. There's also the fact that whenever you launch these and they were supposed to crash together, sometimes they would miss each other completely, or really they would just hit each other and they would both just die out immediately, so there wouldn't really be a clear winner. So I think the most fun way to play with these was launching them into the sky, except if you launch them really hard, there'd be the whole chance of them flying and actually hitting something, denting a wall or scraping a wall. It was just kind of dangerous, and I'm very surprised that they released this idea. I really wish I had some Beywheelz still left over. I mean, I only bought a few of them back when they released, and I think I might have like donated them because they were just kind of, they were really for me. They were not really for me. I do have a couple of unboxings of them on this channel though. Let's look at that really quick.
And so here are the Beywheelz. There are the other ones. Holy shiz missiles!
The designs of the Beywheelz themselves actually looked kind of cool though, although super low detailed because they weren't really supposed to be. Pegasus looked cool, Drago was obviously the best looking one. You had some that were some weird kind of color schemes, but they actually looked kind of cool. I'm really interested to use these again, so I'm probably gonna buy some on eBay in like a lot or something, and probably make like a 2022 10-year later review for them because they're just kind of cool. Kind of cool, but also really dumb at the same time. A type of dumb where they probably shouldn't have existed in the first place, but they do. At the end of the day though, it's a pretty cool-ish little spin-off series that didn't really do that well, so it definitely didn't get a follow-up season or 2 using literal cars instead of like bays or anything. Yeah, it did. It did. So that was Beywheelz, the first unfortunate spin-off to Metal Fight Beyblade that released towards the end of Metal Fury because Metal Fury was on a shortened season. And it was dumb. It changed Beyblades into tires, and the official rules for the game were really stupid and didn't make any sense. But I will say, the fun that you can have with the Beywheelz just kind of by yourself or with friends is actually pretty high. As long as you don't end up like Beyblade geeks and break a TV.
What? Oh my! Look what the new ended!
That is a classic Beyblade Geeks video. While you can have fun with Beywheelz outside of the game, I don't know if the same can be true for our next series, which is BeyWarriors Beyraiders. Introducing the legendary BeyWarriors Beyraiders. This follow-up series came out at the beginning of 2014 and follows the same-ish characters, although instead of tires, they are now cars. Just remember, the series that this was based off of was Spinning Tops That Battle, and now they're cars. So going back to BeyWarriors, BeyRaiders, to talk about the anime, we kind of need to know where Beywheelz left off. This is a spoiler to the ending of Beywheelz, so if you want to watch that show, skip ahead a little bit. At the end of Beywheelz, the planets align, causing a new parallel world to be uncovered, kind of transported to the new world, kind of science mumbo jumbo, but that's pretty much what happens. And this is the world of the Beyraiders. According to the Beyblade Wiki, once defended by 6 mythic beasts who upheld justice and brought prosperity to all through the battling Beyraiders tournaments, the world has since fallen into decay because the mythic beasts have disappeared. So it's up to Sho Tenma and his friends to see what happened to these 6 mythic beasts and bring the world back to prosperity.
I'm counting on you, Ifrit!
Not gonna lie, the animation is pretty slick. It's pretty detailed despite it just being cars.
I will never hand the power of the 6 mythic beasts over to you! Ah!
What? What? Okay, we get that sometimes Beyblade can be pretty dramatic and like mythical, but I've never seen a Beyblade character just straight up key blast somebody Dragon Ball Z style.
My name is Sho Tenma.
And there's our main character, Sho. He is back. Sho and Ko do eventually go to the ruins where they meet up with another character.
My name is Armez Navy, and this is my partner, Guardian Leviathan.
Whoa, we got Guardian Leviathan. It's crazy.
Flying Leviathan!
The music and the acting is so intense, but they're still just going after a disc. That's the whole point.
Go now, Ifrit!
Yeah, this show just pretty much reminds me of Fast and the Furious meets Beyblade, with the way these cars just maneuver themselves in weird ways or like somehow jump without a ramp. It's pretty crazy, but it is pretty entertaining. So now let's talk about the battles in the show, which were always the most exciting part of Beyblade. They're pretty weird. The characters that are battling send out these little Beyraiders cars, and the whole point is to grab a disc and bring the disc back. Of course, to make the battles more exciting in the show, because these little cars are able to maneuver around the stadium, or if they're battling kind of like a rock formation, they're able to maneuver around, makes it a little bit more exciting. But at the end of the day, they're trying to grab a frisbee. In real life, the battles are basically the same, but just nowhere near as exciting. I actually bought a couple of these Beyraiders on eBay, but you need way more to actually battle them. There's a launcher that you rev up, and there's a whole stadium gate set. It's a lot. We're gonna look at an unboxing done by legendary Beytuber JoJo, where she takes a look at all of the different pieces.
So after assembling everything, this is what you get. So you pretty much rev up just like this. And then you slam down hard.
In its simplest form, you launch the Beyraiders to knock down power discs and to bring the power discs back to you, and whoever has the most or whoever grabs all of them first wins. Some of the Beyraiders had slightly different designs, which made them better for power or for accuracy, but at the end of the day, they were all pretty much the same thing. I'm not really sure how any Beyblade fans would have enjoyed this because it's just so different from Beyblade, and it's so different from Beywheelz as well. Just like Beywheelz before it, I don't think this series did that well. I remember seeing Beyraiders sets just on clearance several years ago. So this definitely did not get a full 26 episode sequel called BeyWarriors Cyborg. It did. For BeyWarriors, BeyRaiders, I just was not a fan of this series at all. I don't think it has really any redeeming qualities either. I'm not a fan of them changing from a tire to a car. It's just kind of like a Hot Wheel. I just don't think that it's Beyblade at all, and I'd probably put it in the same quality as Beywheelz, but in real life, I'd much rather use a Beywheel than a BeyWarrior BeyRaider. The next one we're going to talk about, though, is easily the most forgotten series of all time. It didn't get any actual products released with it, and it wasn't even released here in the West. Let's move on to the most forgotten Beyblade series of all time with BeyWarriors Cyborg. In this video, we are going to talk about BeyWarriors Cyborg, which came out after BeyWarriors BeyRaiders, and while it may or may not be the worst Beyblade series, it is easily the most forgotten one. So let's talk about the show. Let's talk about the characters in the world, look into the very first episode of BeyWarriors Cyborg, and then we'll discuss where it all went wrong.
Warrior meets machine, full power, cyborgs on the scene, the final hour, battle fierce, battle strong, let's go, let it rip.
This series takes place in the future where humans have been able to travel the stars and colonize space and land on different planets. The events of the show are set on this planet called Teslandia, which is pretty barren. It's an abandoned planet. There's like not a lot of natural resources there, despite having pockets of civilization that have settled there. On this planet of Teslandia, there are these spots of power called sanctuaries that are really mysterious in origin. Not a lot of people know what they are or where they came from, but they do know that they emanate a lot of power. Power that is needed to further develop their civilizations and the rest of the planet. The different civilizations that have different themes, like there's one called Lightning, where our main character is from. There's one called Flame, and then another one called Rock. All of these civilizations have tried to use these Beyraiders and see if maybe it can unlock the power of the sanctuaries, but nothing has worked. Then we are introduced to our main character, Nico, who's kind of boring. He's kind of bland. He also sounds like he's 30 years old despite being a teenager.
Grandpa, weren't these artifacts also found in the ruins of the sanctuary?
They are a part of the Lightning civilization, and his grandpa is trying to figure out how to harness this power of both the Beyraiders and of the sanctuary. And right now he's kind of losing hope and thinking maybe they're ancient toys. Well, Nico takes one of these Beyraiders called Spark Dragoon. Bit of a reference towards, the Dragoon lineup of Beyblades. But when he launches it, something actually happens. The Beyraider car kind of teleports away and gets transformed into this robotic cyborg warrior. This is, of course, groundbreaking. Nobody has seen this happen or expected this to happen, but now that word has gotten out that it can happen, every other civilization is trying to do the same thing. It is pretty cool seeing how these different civilizations are completely different groups of people. Like the Rock civilization is seemingly like underneath the earth, or at least they're in this giant dark dome, and all their clothes are kind of rock themed. Then there's another faction that is ruled by like a monarchy and Prince Augusto, whatever. These civilizations do end up finding people that resonate with the Beyraiders, and they have to be like teenagers, but not all teenagers work. Only some of them can resonate. It's like a Bey spirit thing, I don't know. So now that all this information is out there, and all of these civilizations now know how to harness the power of the Beyraiders and of the sanctuaries, and this power is what they need to be able to live and survive, they decide that their representatives would battle their Beyraiders together, and whoever wins would get the power.
The leaders of the city-states of Teslandia held a conference in order to determine how to fairly divide up the sanctuary energy.
This is a pretty nice and reasonable solution. Of course, in real life, this would never happen. But we do see one of these battles in this very first episode. We have a representative named Sid, I believe, from the Flame faction up against our main character, Nico. The two launch their Beyraiders. They kind of disappear and turn into these giant cyborg monster things. The battle starts off in Sid's favor, like pretty much immediately, and Nico and his Spark Dragoon just aren't really doing that well. We do hear that there are measurable power levels with these Beyraiders, so as Spark Dragoon is losing, his power level is dropping. Something else that's pretty interesting as well is that whenever Spark Dragoon is taking damage, Nico feels pain, and he takes damage as well. But I don't think that happens with Sid. He just kind of seems normal the whole time. But the two Beyraiders exchange blows, and it looks like Sid is finally going to win, although we have a power level spike and like a resonance spike with Nico and Spark Dragoon. They kind of harmonize or synchronize or something, and that causes Spark Dragoon to have like a power level spike, turn the tides of the battle, and he ends up winning. After the battle is over and Nico has won, the Beyraiders turn into their car forms again, and then a token appears. Pretty much whenever two Beyraiders fight, Whoever wins will win a token, and these tokens are the power from the sanctuary. Think of it as like oil in the real world. But that is pretty much the episode. We do leave off on like a cliffhanger in a battle between Guy and Augusto that'll be resolved in episode 2. But that's pretty much the whole vibe of the series. So now that we're done with the episode, where did it all go wrong? First of all, I really want to point out just how different BeyWarriors Cyborg and BeyWarriors Beyraiders are. In Beyraiders, there are like avatars and crazy special moves, but at the end of the day, it's still like these little cars rolling around and fighting each other in order to get these tokens. But in Cyborg, after the cars are launched, they turn into the Cyborg Warriors. What's really odd to me is that it seems like since they both have BeyWarriors in the name and Cyborg came out afterwards, that it would be a sequel, but it's not. It's completely different. To me, it kind of seems like Hasbro or Takara Tomy or both created the little cars products in real life, and then they had to think of what anime to make behind it. So two people thought of completely different ideas. One thought of BeyWarriors Beyraiders, and the other thought of BeyWarriors Cyborg, and they just decided to make both of them. Just throw them both out there. However, Cyborg definitely pulled the short end of the stick. BeyWarriors Cyborg released towards the end of 2014, going into 2015. So at the very, very end of the Beyblade Metal Mania. At this point, we had had 4 seasons of the mainline Beyblade series, and now 3 spin-offs. And for the most part, people were just kind of out of it. Zero G, or Shogun Steel here in the US, which was the final mainline season, was pretty much canceled in Japan, and there was a lot of Beyblades that were never released, like Berserker Byakko, I think that's one of them. And to the surprise of nobody, the spin-offs, Beywheelz and Beyraiders, were complete failures. So Cyborg pretty much never saw a Western release ever, even though it was made for a Western release. There was like 14 or so episodes that released in Italy before getting canceled, and then the whole season was dropped in Japan and then other Asian territories in later 2015, even into 2016. And by the middle of 2016, Beyblade Burst was already in its manga run. The very first season was already releasing, and we were already, 30 or 40 releases into the product lineup. So BeyWarriors Cyborg was just kind of canceled and swept under the rug. In summary, BeyWarriors Cyborg never saw a Western release and never got products released at all. It was canceled in Italy before just being kind of dropped in Japan. It is easily the most forgotten Beyblade series of all time. And to be honest, it's really not that bad. Beywheelz and the original BeyWarrior series were really bad to me because it tried to make itself like similar to Beyblade, make it in the same world. You have these battling tires and battling cars. It just didn't make a lot of sense. Cyborg at least tried to do its own thing. I really think if they would have just dropped the whole Beyblade branding from the series, it would have done better because it's kind of creative in its own ways. I don't think I'm gonna finish the show, but at least it does something kind of creative, kind of interesting. So that was BeyWarriors Cyborg, and overall, I actually have some positive things to say about this one. It does kind of suck that we never got any actual products released, but is that really a bad thing? But I think that this series is the best one out of all of the spin-offs. Of course, it's not actually Beyblade at all. There are no Beyblades, but that's the same as all the other shows we've talked about. Cyborg has a much more interesting plot and world, and it also has 26 episodes and 2 specials, which is the same amount as the previous 2 series combined. The animation isn't great, the voice acting isn't great, and there's a lot of flaws, of course, but I think it's much more worth your time than Beywheelz and Beyraiders. But that's going to wrap up this collection, this compilation of the worst Beyblade series. Which one do you think is the worst one? Which one do you think is the best? But thank you guys for watching this compilation. If you liked it, hit the like button down below, hit subscribe to join the Nook Nation, and I will see you in the next one. Have fun, and Bey away.